Lions fans, and welcome to Truelove's Pizza and Grits Thursday Night Preview, an hour-long discussion of Columbia Lions football from Truelove's Pizza and Grits on Riverside Drive. Now, here are your hosts, Dan James and Eddie Bobo.
Well, we are working without a net tonight because Eddie Bobo, bless his heart, is under the weather. He's got a little stomach flu, and hopefully we'll be back with us tomorrow night for the game.
I hope so.
And, oh yeah, so do I, believe me.
You'll be doing announcing?
Yeah, we'll be doing all of that. For some reason, I'm not getting your microphone there, Coach.
Check.
No, wait a minute.
Turn the switch on.
There we go.
Check. That helps. There we go.
Yes, it does. So Eddie's under the weather, and we hope he'll be back with us tomorrow night. But get well, buddy. We need you. Got to have our whole team there, and he's part of our whole team.
He's part of the press box team.
Yes, he is. Here's the thing about Coach Sykes. Coach Sykes goes into the press box last week and turns off the air conditioner that's up there. And I get up there, man, I'm sweating because I got to announce the band at halftime. And I'm sweating like, well, I won't say what I was sweating like, but it was hot in that press box, dude. You turned the air conditioner off. You had
It was only in my little section.
I know, but
you have a door. You had your own air conditioner in your section.
Yeah, but I only had that section for like 15 seconds.
No,
that's all I had. Frustrating. That's what Coach Hoth said in the paper for Sunday. Summit has a running back that is pretty awesome, but now Spring Hill's going to have one too.
Yeah, well, they both have really good running backs. What we've got to do is tackle. At Summit, we had the guy wrapped up.
Yeah.
Or we had the guy stopped, but we didn't wrap him up.
Right.
And he kept his legs driving, and we didn't finish tackles. And a lot of times you look at the film, we didn't get 11 hats to the football. You know, we're used to playing lesser backs,
right?
Say that, you know, one or two guys could stop them. That back wasn't like that, and this back this week isn't going to be like that. It's going to take the entire team rallying and the second and third and fourth guy coming in to make the tackle.
Because I believe this guy named Dante
Smith, yes.
Dante Smith.
Yes, sir.
Ran for a whole bunch of yards against Tullahoma last week.
He did.
Interesting thing is that Tullahoma beat Shelbyville in game one on Thursday, a couple of 3 or 4 weeks ago. And how are things looking matching up with Spring Hill for tomorrow night as far as practice goes this week?
Well, you know, the matchup, athlete for athlete, we can match up pretty well across the board. They've got a couple of really big defensive linemen that are of concern. I'm just going to be honest. You know, those boys play hard, and they're a handful to stop. But as far as speed, I mean, you know, yeah, they got Dante Smith. You know, we got T.J. Bailey. I mean,
sure.
we got some speed, too. You know, they got some good receivers. You know, number 1 and number 5 are really good receivers. We got a couple good receivers, too. You know, I'll take Woodson and Jernigan and Duman, Dontavius. I'll take those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can match up at a lot of the positions. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about us stopping the play when we get in position and not letting. If you look at Dante Smith's yardage last week, most of it he gets hemmed up and he keeps going and ends up reversing field and going back the other way and then running the ball for 60 yards for a touchdown.
Right.
That's where his yardage comes from, because people don't finish the play. We stop him, and then we think we've got him. So what we've tried to preach to our boys this week is we've got to finish that play. We've got to finish the play. We've got to get out there and stay after it until we're sure he's on the ground. The
excellent play from last week was the 66-yard pass from Darian to TJ. And that move that TJ made at the end of that play was amazing. It was amazing to watch.
TJ is
and I know that's something that Coach Davis wrote up for him just to be able to do that.
Coach Davis taught him that move, actually.
I still got it.
You know, TJ is a very special athlete.
Right.
And when he gets in space, we call it athletes in space.
Right.
And when we get him in space with the football, he's very dangerous. And he can put a move on most people and make them look silly, really, when he gets the opportunity. So, yeah, he put some really good moves on and had a couple really good runs after the catch. And that's where we make our money, is yards after the catch. Yeah, we've had a few really long passes, but where we make our money is yards after the catch. It's athletes in space. When we can get TJ, when we can get Woodson, when we can get Jernigan, when we can get Jay-Z, when we can get Darian in space, that's where we really tend to shine, is when we get those athletes in space.
Other than the defensive, I'm going to call it faux pas of last week of not finishing the tackle, which we obviously didn't do. Offensively, how did we look?
Well, outside of some of the things that we shot ourselves in the foot, when we stayed on the same page and we all kept working together, we were clicking. But there was too many instances to where, whether it was a penalty or we had a bad play, to where we couldn't overcome that. And really, there was too many times to where we had the ball in the red zone and we didn't score. And we got to score. Especially on the 1 yard line, we got to put that ball in. We had 2 attempts right before halftime, and that would have been good momentum to go into halftime with, and then get the ball second half.
Right.
But sometimes, we keep preaching to our kids. We got to, there's going to be negative plays. We just got to keep playing football. It's not going to change anything. We're still going to count on y'all. We're not going to invent the wheel.
And then you got your eyes in the sky too with Coach Sykes,
right?
And never, and I can say this honestly, from a standpoint of watching Coach Sykes for several years that I have, no panic in his voice whatsoever. He's telling you what you can do,
right,
and what those kids can do,
right.
And that's the neat thing about watching him coach from the press box, because he's probably yelled at them all week long. He ain't gonna yell at nobody on Friday night.
Yeah, if I do any yelling Friday night, only the coaches hear it anyhow. But I will say, we are a very collaborative staff.
Right.
There's not anything that goes in during the week that isn't discussed on Sunday in coaches meetings. And then if we decide later in the week, if Coach Davis decides, hey, I want to do this, 2 or 3 different times this week, first thing when I come in the office, he's like, hey, Coach Sykes, come here. I want to show you something on the board. He says, what if we do this? Can you get the receivers to do this or that? And we talk about it. So we're all on the same page come Friday. And then I'm looking from above and I'm going, hey, Coach Davis, you remember that play we drew on the board on Thursday? Run that one, okay? Because that's what their defense has given us now. And that's what he's asking me to do. He's saying, tell me, is their coverage, are they pressing us? Are they playing us loose? Are they in cover 3? Are they in cover 2? We look and, who's maybe their weakest safety. Where's he at? Is he rolling down? Is he staying on the roof? That's all information he needs, and then he makes play calls off of that.
The thing that I like about that is because this coaching staff has not always been that together, and you guys now are together, like you're talking, and you're asking for opinions from everybody else,
right?
And you're asking what people see. What can we do? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great thing that this coaching staff is doing now that it didn't do before,
right?
As much.
There's not a lot of ego on the coaching staff. Nobody gets their feelings hurt.
Well, we're at the age where we forget ego.
Yeah, but we've got a lot of younger coaches, and kudos to them, because even the younger coaches, they don't feel like their toes are stepped on because somebody says, hey, what you just did, that didn't work very well. Don't do that again. Right. They don't take it personal. They say, okay, I'll file that away, and we'll see what else we can do. We do that really well, I think, as a coaching staff, and it's one of the reasons we've had more success this year, is because all the coaches are on the same page, in my opinion.
I agree. We all collaborate, and even when we go in at halftime, we're all talking before we talk to kids and be like, all right, what are we seeing that's not working? Why is it not working? And what can we, is there some little adjustment that we can do to make it work? And, we all talk about that. And, then we come up with a game plan of, all right, especially if offense is getting the ball at the beginning of the second half, we always go ahead and mark down, all right, here's our first series coming out of the half. And a lot of times, I mean, it's just all collaboration, and it's nobody going in yelling. It's all nice and calm, and then go talk to the kids.
With all the distraction that goes on during television week, and I've seen these this is the 12th one I've seen, but for all the ones that go for the distractions for the kids, the things that they do, the TV people come down and they do film and they do all that kind of stuff. With all that in mind, how has practice been this week?
Overall, I think it's been fairly solid. I think we started off a little slow at the beginning of the week, but outside of that, I thought they've kind of come together and started realizing that we got to focus. If we want to do something on Friday night, we better start focusing, because when Friday night gets here, if we haven't been putting in the work during the week, then it's on us. So it started off a little slow on Monday, but after that, I saw a lot of guys who just would look at you. You could coach them up, and they'll just go play ball. And I think one thing that I've seen out of this week that we haven't had in the past few weeks, I think our scout offense has been a little bit better for our defense. And that's one thing that we got to continue getting better at, is being scout offense and defense, so that way we can get the actual work we need for Friday night. But outside of all the distractions, I mean, we stay on them every day of all that. When you step on this field, all that's gone. Don't worry about that. Let's play ball. This is a game. Let's go play.
Now that the 4-0 is gone, we've got 4-1. Do you think that's taken a little bit out of their head and now it's time to play?
I think so. I think so in the fact of sometimes you do need to be brought down to see what you need to work on, what you need to do. All great teams, even whenever they shouldn't have been beat, they'll get beat. And the good thing about that is it's at the time to where we got beat to where we can definitely make a change and continue on the rest of the season.
Well, happened to Brady in New England week 1.
Right.
There's your wake-up call. Your Super Bowl
and these
champs.
are 16, 17-year-old kids.
Yeah.
They were 4-0, and they're thinking, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
And, then they run up against a team that is as good as they are.
Well,
I don't think Summit is better than they are.
Even the coach for Summit said this is a good football team.
Right.
Yeah, but they run up against somebody that's as good as they are.
Yeah.
And, they got kind of brought back down to size a little bit. And so, we hope that'll change their focus a little bit this week. They realize that they've really got to go play 4 quarters of football to beat a team. Because, last week we were in the game. There was a couple things didn't go our way, but we were in the game even into the third quarter. I felt like we were in the game. We didn't feel like we were out because we can strike quickly. We've got an offense that can strike very quickly. We couldn't. Last week we couldn't stop them defensively.
It was one of those things, that an educator will say it's a teaching moment.
It was a teachable moment, yes.
Where you sit there and here's how you tackle. This is what you got to stop.
Right.
Now you're learning.
Well, and part of it was we were out of position a lot. If you look at us last week, it was our first week. D. James was injured.
Right.
We're used to him playing an outside linebacker position for us, and we had to get somebody ready in a week's time to play that position, and we stepped up the level of competition all at the same time. So we did some things schematically to try and help that person a little bit, but that created some problems in us getting lined up.
In other words, he wasn't eased in. He was
he was thrown into the fire. I mean, let's just face it. And so, it was, okay, who's the best solution for this position, and then try to teach him that position. And there's a lot of thinking, especially with an outside linebacker. Sometimes he plays run, sometimes he plays pass, sometimes he rolls back on the roof, sometimes he comes down. He's got a lot of responsibilities. And to learn that in a week, and D was one of those unsung heroes a lot of times. Nobody realized what he was doing. He wasn't making, an extraordinary amount of tackles or anything, but he was in position.
Right.
And that makes a difference to a defense like ours, that where everybody's dependent on everybody else. It's a responsibility-driven you got this gap, I got this gap, this guy's got this gap defense. And if one guy doesn't have his gap and another team figures that out, yeah, you're going to have a long night.
Yeah. Coming up tomorrow night, we have the Coca-Cola, and we'll say this a couple of more times for the evening, but the Coca-Cola tailgate, which is going to be behind the log cabin. As some folks call it, Smoky Bear Cabin. I've never called it that, but I've always called it the log cabin.
You just did.
No, but I referred to someone else saying that.
Okay.
But anyway, and my buddy Amy will say that she pointed out the other night on the other show that I do on Tuesdays that I said Smokey the Bear, and it's not Smokey the Bear, it's Smokey Bear. It's not Easter the Bunny, so it's Easter Bunny. But anyway, with that being said, then we have the Chick-fil-A halftime show, which is going to be pretty cool because you've got Spring Hill bands, Columbia bands together with Serena Joy Crow, who is a finalist, Columbia Central graduate in 2013, going to be singing with both bands. That's going to be kind of neat. You guys won't be involved in that whatsoever.
Yeah, we will be in the locker room trying to prepare for the second half.
Well, we'll see if we can.
That'll be that collaborative thing we were talking about, Dave.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. And the official name of this is the Parks Motor Sales Backyard Bowl. Because Parks has stepped up, and you can win a 2-year lease on a brand new truck if you can throw a football into the window of a truck.
We might have to hold off on the collaboration. I want to give that a shot.
Yeah. Can the coaches participate in this? Yeah.
But I want to take this opportunity to thank Robert Rogers, who's really stepped up for us. You know, new scoreboard that we have out there, and anything that we need, he comes through and takes care of Columbia Central High School. And as a matter of fact, he's going to go from being a car dealer to being a philanthropist before it's over with, because he's done so much for the schools around here. So my hat's off to Robert. And I wish I could have got him to come in tonight, but I forgot to give him a call. So that's my fault. I got just a lot of things on my plate right now. But that's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow night. But the most important thing is going to be this game between Spring Hill. How do you attack that? They're a good team too. Like you said, though, player for player, we're as equal as they are.
Right. Well, one thing I think is how you attack Spring Hill is don't try to play out of position, meaning, or don't try to overdo. Don't try to do more than what you've been taught to do.
Right.
And it's going to be a high emotion game. And it's like I've told the line, and I've told some other players, I was like, you play your position, you count on your teammate to play his position, and everything works out. But if you're trying to do too much, then you're going to be out of position sometimes, and then there's where something's going to happen. You got to play what you've been taught to play and play sound, and you can beat this team.
Now, Coach Hoth told them today, it's not about them. It's about us. It's about us doing what we do and doing it well. And if we do what we do well, I feel good about the results.
Right.
Now, if we don't go out there and do what we've been taught, we don't go out there and do what we've practiced, we don't tackle well, we don't get a line, then, like Coach Davis says, things start to come apart a little bit, because then somebody else is trying to pick up somebody's slack somewhere, and then they're not where they're supposed to be. It's a very dependent, and that's the game of football, offensively and defensively. One guy can't do it. Two guys can't do it. It's got to be 11 people that are on the field on the same page. It's got to be a whole gaggle of coaches on the sideline that are on the same page. So when we're coaching them individually in practice, you know, when Coach Binkley's coaching the running backs and I'm coaching the receivers and Coach Davis is coaching the line and Coach Hoth is coaching the quarterbacks, we're teaching them something that when we bring them together as a team, it all fits.
Right.
And then if they learn that and go do it like we taught them to do, everybody does their job, it works out.
Right.
All right, I'm going to ask this question. The next man up rule. As you guys are concentrating on your ones, and there's a possibility that a one can go down, where are the twos and threes at this point? Are they working alongside the ones, or how are they practicing?
We do a pretty good job about rotating kids. We'll have set number of plays a lot of times for having the ones go through, and then we'll bring it back. Especially we do a lot, especially in individual, where we'll rotate them.
Right.
We'll have set plays that one's a run, and then we'll call twos in and repeat a lot of that. So they're seeing both sides of it, and
then we do a pretty good job when we're in team practice of not just wholesale bringing all the twos in, but kind of piecemealing them in one at a time. Replace the right tackle went down. He cramped up. Put in a new right tackle. Running back